Why, hello. I just wrote a little fan fiction that I thought I'd share with y'all. Uh, it's actually a crossover between Narnia, specifically the Magician's Nephew, and Harry Potter, of all things. Uh, Now, I'm a fan of both these series, but this is just fan fiction. It's just a fun little thing I did. Uh, I've tried to be relatively faithful, but these are totally different worlds. So this is just something to be taken lightly. It's not. Anyway, just take it a little bit lightly. It's just a fun little thing I thought I'd share with y'all. Uh, a Hogwarts Tale before the dawn of Narnia. Chapter 1. The Last Queen of Charn. It began, as many impossible things do, in the library. Hermione Granger was searching for the oldest kind of magic. Not the spells of classrooms, but the deep enchantments that shaped reality itself. She found a reference in Hogwarts a history to the pools of possibility, gateways between worlds older than the earth, and had spent the summer buried in the restricted section, chasing a footnote about world-crossing magics older than Avalon. Pansy Parkinson only came to mock her. "What's this, Granger? Summoning fairies? Trying to outdo Dumbledore now?" "I'm testing a theory," Hermione said without looking up. "About worlds beyond our own." Pansy smirked. "You and your theories." But when Hermione whispered the final incantation, light burst through the air like a mirror shattering inward, and both girls vanished into the golden hush between worlds. The girls soon found themselves in a forest of perfect stillness. The light was warm, the air heavy with quiet. Around them lay countless pools, each one smooth as glass and reflected a different color of sky. "It feels like a dream," Hermione whispered. "It feels like death," said Pansy. "Let's go back." But Hermione's curiosity outshone her fear. She tied a ribbon from her robe to mark the pool they had come from, then knelt beside another, its surface shimmering like a mirror. Without a second thought, she touched it, and the girls emerged beneath a blood-red sun over a city of gold and marble. The air shimmered with heat and perfume. Spires rose higher than mountains, and on every terrace stood statues of kings and queens. The people who found them were tall, grave, and impossibly beautiful. Their robes shone with metallic threads, their eyes with the calm cruelty of mastery. "Behold," said one priest, "the sky-born sisters, messengers of power." Before long, both young witches were brought to the Palace of Charn, the most magnificent city in all the worlds. There, magic was not study or art, but law. Words themselves commanded reality, and the right syllable could shape the course of time. Hermione, tireless and curious, mastered their speech and spellcraft within months. Pansy learned their politics and pleasures with equal ease. Charn adored them. When the old queen died, the nobles, fearing chaos, begged the two strangers to take her place. And so, upon the marble dais, Hermione and Pansy were crowned together, sisters not by birth, but by fate, taking new names. Hermione became Jadis, the wise flame. Pansy became Ordina, the burning star. At first, their reign brought wonder. Jadis built libraries, reformed laws, and taught restraint in the use of power. Ordina expanded the armies, conquered rivals, and filled the vaults of the empire. Each claimed to serve Charn's greatness. Each thought the other naive. Mercy breeds rebellion, Ordina told her sister in council. The strong must rule the weak, or the weak will destroy us all. Power without mercy is ruin, Jadis replied. If we rule by fear, we are already lost. Their quarrels grew colder and deeper until the city itself seemed to echo their division. The people took sides, temples were defiled, towers toppled, and at last the sisters went to war. The battle for Charn raged for years. Spells split the earth, the rivers burned, armies marched beneath banners of sun and flame, loyal to one queen or the other. The sky turned crimson with smoke and sorcery. Jadis watched her cities crumble and her libraries burn. She saw children raised for battle, priests blessing cruelty, lovers betraying each other for favor. Everywhere she turned, Charn devoured itself. Once she had believed she could redeem it, that her learning, her justice, her love of truth could purify a world steeped in pride. But now she saw Charn was built on evil. Its people worshipped only themselves, and her sister Ordina was merely the truest expression of what Charn had always been. Standing on the ruined balcony of the citadel, the wind thick with ash, Jadis whispered, "There's nothing left to save." She descended into the lowest vault of the palace, where the air shimmered with ancient power. There, upon a pedestal of obsidian, burned a single word written in fire. The deplorable word, a spell the kings of old had forbidden to be spoken. It would end all life in the world, save the one who uttered it. She hesitated, trembling. Above her, the armies clashed. The world screamed. She could almost hear her sister's voice, triumphant and mad, saying, "I will burn every star before I yield." And then Jadis understood. To stop Charn's corruption, she must end Charn itself. I will not let this evil spread to other worlds, she said. Better silence than endless cruelty. She spoke the word, and the sound that followed was not a sound at all. It was absence. When the silence faded, every street was still. Every torch had gone out. The red sun dimmed to a dying ember. Jada stood alone in a world of statues. Ardina lay at her feet, beautiful and cold. She wandered through her dead empire, calling names that would never answer. At first, she told herself it was mercy. Then she told herself it was justice. But the longer she walked, the more she felt the truth gnawing within. She had not destroyed evil. She had become it. Her pride had whispered that she alone was wise enough to decide who should live and who should die. And she had listened. Ages passed, the wind ceased to blow, the stars grew dim. At last Jadis built her own tomb, a vast hall lined with images of the kings and queens she had destroyed. In the center she placed a tall pillar, carved with her final words. Make your choice, adventurous stranger. Strike the bell and bide the danger, or wonder till it drives you mad what would have followed if you had. Then she wove her last enchantment, binding herself in stone and silence. She told herself it was preservation, a record for those who might come after. But deep within her weary heart, Hermione's buried conscience whispered another wish, a secret plea she hoped the spell might catch. Let me never wake again. And so the queen slept. She slept for 1,000 years, until a boy named Diggory Kirk and a girl named Polly Plummer stepped into the ruined hall. They read the words on the pillar. Make your choice. Diggory hesitated. Polly warned him not to, but curiosity, Hermione's old sin, stirred in his blood. He struck the bell, and the note rang out like a heartbeat long forgotten. The queen, who had once been Hermione Granger, opened her eyes. But they were no longer warm and mortal. They shone with cold fire, the light of a dying sun reflected in endless memory. The last queen of Charn, Jadis, had returned. That's just chapter 1. Chapter 2 is The Song and the Stone. Jadis had followed the children back to Earth, to London, a place she barely remembered. Now she had followed them into darkness, and the sound began, soft, low, like the breath of the sea before dawn. The sound grew into a song. From the blackness, stars bloomed. Mountains rose, rivers found their beds, creatures stirred. Every note of the song was life itself. Jadis felt the melody burn through her, beautiful and unbearable. It spoke the one truth she had denied, that power belonged to creation, not control. She fell to her knees, pressing her hands to her ears. "Stop," she whispered. "Stop it." But the song went on, and through it walked the lion. When his gaze met hers, time seemed to halt. The lion's eyes were deep gold, older than the worlds she had seen, and she felt within them the memory of the girl she had once been, Hermione Granger, who had wanted only to understand. For one heartbeat she almost wept. Then pride, the only thing she had left, rose like armor around her heart. "Who are you to sing life?" she demanded. "I have ruled worlds." The lion said nothing. His song merely swelled, and green light spread beneath his paws. Grass grew around her feet. Flowers dared bloom even in her shadow. She struck at him with her magic, but the power of creation absorbed it as sunlight drinks mist. "You cannot undo me," she hissed, and yet she felt herself undone. When the lion's world took form, when Narnia breathed its first morning, Jadis slipped away into the northern wastes. The memory of the song haunted her like warmth she could not bear to feel. She built walls of ice to silence it. She swore never to love again, never to listen, never to hope. But sometimes, in the stillness of her frozen palace, she dreamed of a library lit by candlelight, and a brown-haired girl murmuring spells, not for conquest, but for learning. She would wake furious, shattering mirrors until the vision fled. To forget, she froze the world itself. Centuries passed. The lion's music became legend, the children's story myth. Jadis ruled as the White Witch, beautiful, eternal, and cold. In rare moments, when the aurora flickered above her palace, she would stand alone and listen. Somewhere, faint and far, she thought she could almost hear the echo of that first song, the melody that had once asked her to choose life instead of mastery. She turned away from it every time. But deep within the ice, a single tear lay frozen, bright as a star, waiting for the day when the lion's song would rise again. That's chapter 2. And now, chapter 3, the Unfreezing. Winter was all she knew now. Jadis, Queen of Narnia, ruler of a kingdom locked in frost. Her throne was carved from ice. Her crown was the frozen echo of the red sun of Charn. For 1,000 years, snow fell without ceasing, and time itself seemed to bow before her will. But power is never quiet. In the stillness of her palace, sometimes she heard a sound she could not command, a pulse, a faint as the flutter of wings. It came when she least expected it, when she passed a mirror, or when starlight touched the ice, just so. It was the beating of a human heart, hers, long forgotten. She would crush the thought with rage, whispering that girl is dead. Yet the sound would return. Whispers came from the south, a stirring, a lion's name spoken again. Aslan. The very syllables burned her tongue. It was his song she had tried to silence in her mind for centuries. Now it returned, not as music, but as defiance, a warmth moving through the trees, melting her dominion. When she looked from her tower, she saw it for herself. Snow dripping from branches, grass showing through the frost, the sky softening the blue. Her fury was greater than fear. He has come back to unmake me, she hissed. Then I will make war upon the spring itself. The prophecies had spoken of 2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve. When she saw them, those 4 bewildered children brought into her world, something ancient trembled in her. They reminded her of others, a boy and a girl who had woken her once before, long ages past. But even further back, she remembered faintly a lightning scar and the smell of soft red hair. For a heartbeat, she nearly faltered, but the old wound, the memory of mercy, was too painful. Love is a trap, she told herself. Kindness breeds rebellion. The lion's song kills all who listen. So she turned her heart to stone again and planned their deaths. When the lion came to her camp in silence, she thought him a fool. When he knelt to the stone table and offered himself, she thought herself victorious. But when dawn rose and the table cracked with light, when death itself bent to that impossible song once more, she knew fear for the first time since Charn. The melody poured through the world again, through every snowflake, every sigh of wind. The White Witch felt it reach the deepest chamber of her heart, the place where Hermione had buried her last tear before turning to stone. It melted. In that moment, before Aslan struck her down, she saw herself clearly, no longer the goddess of Charn, nor the Witch of Narnia, but the girl who had once whispered spells to heal and learn and wonder. She was once more Hermione Granger. The lion's golden eyes held hers, not with hate, but with truth. She wanted to speak, to ask forgiveness, to say, "I am sorry," to call herself by her true name. But her voice was gone. The pride that had sustained her crumbled. When the lion's jaws fell upon her, he cut through 1,000 years of ice. The land thawed, rivers sang, flowers burst from the soil, and among the stones where the witch had fallen, the snow melted last. In the puddle that remained, a single tear floated, clear and small, shining like a star. If one had listened closely, they might have heard, for just a moment, the faintest whisper. At last, the song. Then the wind carried it away into the spring. Epilogue, The Lion's Garden. In the far country beyond all worlds, where the real Narnia lives, a young woman walks among trees that hum with eternal dawn. She carries no wand, her hands are clean, her eyes bright, and her heart unburdened. When she kneels beside a pool and looks down, her reflection is her own again. Brown eyes, bright with wonder. Hermione Granger. And beside her, radiant and smiling, the lion stands. So anyway, I just thought y'all might enjoy that little fan fiction. I love both Narnia and Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. So like it's not it's just fan fiction. That don't take it too seriously. But anyway, I thought it was I had fun writing it. Hope you enjoyed it.